Today I wanted to talk about the paradox of success. When we have a vision and a desire that we set out to achieve, it often becomes the very thing that limits us from achieving what we desire. I think that when we pedestalize something and we deify it, we put it in a place that's actually out of reach. And often that vision takes up so much space that we actually lose sight of the steps that we need to be taking to get there. We also sometimes become so fixated on the way in which we think the end game should look and feel that we get disconnected from the actual process and the interim space. For example, I was just trying to record this video and I was set up by a lake, which is on the other side of the camera right there, which you're now not seeing. And I was really attached to how this video was going to look. I thought, oh, it's going to be so pretty and it's going to be such a great set and I'm going to be so zen sitting by this lake and feel so in the moment. But actually I was really irritated. People were walking by the camera, people were stopping to talk behind me. There were a lot of dogs and there's nothing wrong with what they were up to. It just wasn't actually the best spot to get a video filmed. So the parameters changed, but I didn't want them to change. So I probably spent the better part of half an hour trying to make it work over there. And I realized, you know what? Let the parameters be different. Where would this actually work better, right? Where would this video actually happen? And so I found it very perfect that I was going through this experience as I was trying to film this video. And so not only do we have to see when the vision itself has become worshipped in a way that then becomes godlike, right? Unreal, out of reach, not of this world, that we've now lost sight of what we should really be doing. We also have to be willing to let the parameters and the idea of our success change and evolve. And so I think the remedy to this is coming back to the moment and finding the lighter next step. You don't have to lower your vision. You don't have to lower your standard. You just have to bring your vision right back in front of you. If you're looking at the whole world and you're trying to digest the vision of where you want something to go, and this could be an art project, this could be a business, this could be your own personal growth, we're just not capable of digesting that, and that's not where the success is actually going to happen. The most genius, successful people I've ever met, the most productive people I've ever met, are people who recognize the importance of the process and they find an enjoyment in the process. They realize that the process is actually most of the experience you're going to have of a project, of a business. And so if you get lost in the end game, you actually will get lost along the way and that end game won't even ever occur. So we have to do the next simple step. We have to make it lighter and we have to make it digestible. So pull back from that galactic brain, come back to the moment and what is right there in front of you. So if you want to be a painter, you want to be a musician, and you're not even making time every day to do that, you're not going to be successful. You will fail. In fact, you're already failing. And people are so afraid of that word, oh, I'm a failure. You don't have to label yourself. You're not subjugated to that. Decide to break out of that mold by doing the things that you could do to be successful. So come back to the moment and be a musician or be an artist, be a business person in this moment. It's not going to happen later. You can't live out of the future. What you can do is you can bring the feeling of the future to you and live out of that space, and you'll be a lot more successful. So if you had achieved that success, what would you feel? Oh, I'd feel excitement, I'd feel calm, I'd feel rootedness, I'd feel connected. Okay, bring that feeling to the moment, cultivate that feeling in this moment, and then go and do the work, and you will see such a different experience of the success you're trying to create that you will slowly begin to feel like a new person, and you'll become a new person. It'll change. It'll happen over time. And the other point to this that I wanted to talk about is the fuel, right? What fuel are we using? So many of us are conditioned to build out of a place of fear. How often does someone go through a breakup or they sort of fall down and they get back up? But the fuel is, I'm going to prove somebody wrong. I'm going to do it out of spite, or I'm going to do it out of fear because my parents won't approve of me, that authority figure from my childhood won't approve of me, that boss, whomever it is, you know, when we are worried about that and we're connected to that, we're putting fuel in our engine. You know, the engine of the dream cannot run off of a fuel that is fear, right? So the fuel needs to be swapped out, and that swap needs to be moving from fear to a place of like faith and love and passion and excitement. And that can only be generated by being in the moment with yourself and trusting as you're taking those steps that that vision will happen. But if you're doing it from a place of fear, it's a low grade fuel, it's sludgy, it's going to muck up your engine, and you'll move. People have generated a lot of things from a place of fear. And why do you think people have crises or crises? I don't know which way to say that, later in life, right? It's because they were doing it out of a place of fear. And then they realized that the whole thing, the whole mechanism was built out of a space of lack and contraction versus expansion and faith and enjoyment. So swap that fuel out now before you look back and realize you've built also the whole dream off of fear. And it will never go as far, it'll never be as successful when that's what that dream engine is running off of. So the last thing I want to say is don't get in your own way by being so fixated on the vision of the future. You know, most of your time spent is going to be building the thing you desire. So come back to the moment and build what you desire, but do it with joy. Have fun doing it. It's not going to be fun later if it's not fun now. Life can be a grind. There are moments that are very hard, but if you're not finding any of the higher expressions like fun and joy and excitement now, I promise you they will not arrive later, because it is the mechanism and the place in which you're doing it from. So tell me in the comments if you like this, if you connected with it. I want to hear about your dreams, your goals. Share them below, and of course, as they unfold, keep sharing with me. You know, all that energy, all the positivity, the comments, the likes, the subscriptions, they all help me, and they also help me to connect with you guys more. So thank you, and I will see you next time.